Hey all you cool cats and kittens, this is Lana Peterson again. We're going to be talking about providing feedback during distance learning. We talked a little bit about this on the importance of feedback when you're in online learning because of course 18 out of 20 or saying good job doesn't really mean anything to students when they're not with you and they don't have more context for that. So we're going to talk about rich feedback and the power of that. Again, I'm Lana Peterson from the University of Minnesota. In this presentation, we're going to talk about where feedback will happen in the Distance Learning 2.0 model, what does the research say about effective feedback, and how to use Seesaw for feedback, and we'll talk a little bit too about what would happen in teams as well. So again, they have their whole group daily lessons via Seesaw. They're submitting that to you. You're reviewing them, approving them, sending them back. They're going to have their live sessions via team where we know a lot of feedback happens in real time. So according to Hattie, who is one of the top education researchers, he does this meta research where he takes everybody else's research and he puts those data together. Feedback is one of the most powerful influences on student achievement, and it can be both positive and negative though in how you do it. We want to focus on the task, the process, and the self-regulation level, not on the self level, which is great, or I like how you drew that flower. Of course, there's a place for that, but it doesn't necessarily impact student achievement and learning. And then that descriptive feedback is really closely tied to that idea and the same type of feedback they get from a formative assessment. Here are 7 keys to effective feedback. And the first one is goal reference. So if we are putting the learning target in each lesson, that means that is what that lesson is on, and that is what they should be showing you that they know. So if you notice that your activity within your Seesaw lesson doesn't actually have them demonstrating for you that they've met that learning target, then we need to be adjusting our activities, because that's what the whole formative feedback, that's what we should be asking the students to do, is practicing meeting that goal. And related, our feedback should be directly related to if they met that goal. If they met that learning outcome, that is the goal for the entire lesson. And that should be clear for the students what they are trying to show you in their activity as well. Tangible and transparent. We want the students to be able to obtain what you're asking them to do, and when you're giving them feedback, is what you're pushing them forward, is that attainable for them? And is it clear what you're asking them to do? The feedback should be actionable. So what do you want me to do now? Just telling me good job or telling me what I did wrong, how does that propel me forward? What do you want me to do next? Do you want me to fix this assignment, or do you want me to do something differently next time? The next piece is user-friendly. So this goes back to the cognitive load piece. Are you telling them too much, or are you telling them too little? Are you using communications in which they can understand you? Are you using, if they can't read, are you typing the feedback? How are you making this on the student's level and so that they're able to understand what you're trying to say? Timely. If you have activities in your to-do list from 3 weeks ago that you're hoping to give feedback for, you can let them go. It's okay. Not everything needs to have feedback to it, but really we want to provide that just-in-time feedback, getting stuff out to students very close to when they did that activity. We want it to be ongoing so that they're getting lots of opportunities to improve. We'll talk a little bit about how much is too much. And then consistent, just that you're consistently following the same process for providing that feedback, that the students generally know what you're looking for from them, and that feedback to them is trustworthy and it's accurate. How much feedback? I would say aim to provide feedback for 1 math lesson and 1 reading lesson a week for each student. Generally, you'll be touching upon the same ELO over time. Remember, we're slowing down, we're being more concise in our instruction, and so you're going a little bit deeper. So 1 time a week for each subject, I think, would be an adequate amount of feedback for students. As a reminder, that idea of prep time, if providing effective feedback is core to this instructional model. That plays into the amount of feedback or amount of prep that you're getting, and that feedback then is thought of as core to the instruction. Okay, so let's talk about in Seesaw how to provide that feedback. Here's my Seesaw class. I see that I have one unapproved post down at the bottom here. I'm going to go to my activities. I know that it is down here. Go to the activity that you're going to provide feedback for. And remember, you don't have to provide feedback for every activity, but I just kind of want to show you what this could look like. So Sarah here is under review. We had this math activity here. So there's a couple different ways that you can provide feedback. One is a like. And as I said in the very beginning, a like is not going to provide them that extra feedback, but it does acknowledge to them that you have seen their work. And sometimes that's all that matters. You can type a comment here about what you want them to improve, or do differently, or or how they met that learning target. That's another point of feedback. It doesn't always have to be improvement. You can also record. It's down here at the bottom right of the screen. You see that recording. I think whenever possible to both type and record. For our students, the multimodality is great. You can also, as you review, type right within the document, but you would want to make sure the students know that that is where your feedback is. So I'm looking at Sarah's work and I said, trace the circle using the pen tool. And well, Sarah made a triangle. Color in the circle using the pen tool. And well, Sarah made a sun and didn't do this activity here. She did one of the activities on this page. She wrote meow on this page, and instead of doing the sort, she drew a picture of her dogs, which are very cute dogs. But so you would give that feedback on what you want Sarah to do. Hi, Sarah. I noticed you did not follow any of the directions. Please complete the assignment and return to me. So I can approve, I can send it back. The other thing that you can also do is down here at the bottom 3, you can write edit post. And so this is where you're going in and providing that feedback right on Sarah's work. And so I could create a video where I'm saying, I'm recording and I'm saying, hi Sarah, I noticed that you didn't follow any of the directions on the page. Please watch my video on how to complete this assignment and resend it back to me. Thank you. So that's one way. And then I would just add this right here. Another thing that we could do is add text and say, hi Sarah, I have high expectations for you and know you can color in this triangle. And I will then move this around. Again, adding feedback in here just takes another level of building and scaffolding with your students. You can add a Bitmoji. Meow. Well, that's a good idea. Again, does this level of feedback provide the students with what they need to do? Not necessarily, but there's definitely a place for it in building relationships. As long as a Bitmoji or a sticker like this is also coupled with our effective strategies for feedback, then that is okay as well. And then I'm going to save. And now Sarah has this on her draft. Another thing to note is that you can leave a teacher comment, and this comment only you and the teachers can see as well. Right here, so these are private notes. If you have a co-teacher in the class, you could say, Sarah and I are working on her completing assignments by using the instructions provided. So reviewing student work and providing that effective feedback is very time consuming, but one way to be more efficient is creating a bank of that feedback. And so if you're all focusing on the ELO, you're probably going to see the same deviations by students, maybe some of the same mistakes, or maybe sometimes they've met the outcome and you just want them to know they met that outcome and how they met it. And so when you provide that feedback, you might be typing in Seesaw. Take the time to copy and paste whatever you write to that student and put it in another Word document somewhere that you're working on. And so that if you see something similar, instead of typing it all out again, you can actually just copy and paste and put it in for the next student. So next, let's talk about synchronous learning activities. So if we've talked about Seesaw. So if they're in Seesaw, that's the way of providing feedback. And when you're doing synchronous learning activities, you're playing in games, you're doing differentiated instruction, you're facilitating conversations, there is a lot more opportunity for that real-time feedback to be happening as you're learning together, whether it's the feedback directly to them or whether students are observing feedback that other students are getting. These are the type of feedback that traditionally they would get in the classroom. And so really utilizing that time and making sure that if you notice something broadly about everyone's work, that you're giving that feedback to everyone, or when you're differentiating between the specific groups, that they're understanding that. But really one of the greatest ways to kind of give that feedback as well too is playing games. If you're playing different review games or learning games, the game itself provides the feedback as students win and lose or get points or don't get points as they're reviewing together as well too. And it's fun for them. So that was a quick little ditty on feedback. Remember, you don't need to provide feedback on everything that you assign, but when you do provide that feedback, make sure it's super effective and that students know exactly what you want them to do with it. And hopefully now you know how to use Seesaw to provide that feedback. And practice even now sending feedback to students, letting them know, because they might not be used to getting such rich feedback. Maybe they're used to the number, they're used to the sticker, and explaining to them in distance learning, you have to be a bit more descriptive in the way that you provide that feedback, and so they know it's core to the learning model.